This story began in Seattle, on one of those nights when darkness envelops the city and creates an atmosphere of mystery and enigma. I decided to walk to the nearest gas station because I suddenly discovered that there was nothing edible left in my refrigerator. With grim determination and the hope of a quick resupply, I went outside. The drive to the gas station was terribly difficult. Fog shrouded the neighborhood, making visibility almost nil. Old houses and tall trees hiding in the gloom created an eerie atmosphere, but I persevered on my way despite all the obstacles. As I passed by abandoned houses and gloomy alleys, I felt my heart beating harder. There was a strange energy in the air, as if the city itself was preparing for something unusual. As I approached the gas station, my anxiety only grew. The streets were getting emptier and emptier, and the silence was so deep I could hear my own heart pounding. Finally, I reached the gas station, but what I saw made my heart freeze with horror. The place was completely empty and abandoned, as if it had been abandoned hundreds of years ago. Not a soul around, not a soul around, not a sign of life. My breath froze in my throat as I realized that something terrible was about to happen. And in that moment I heard it, a whisper from the past piercing the silence of the night.
You shouldn't have come here.
Came the voice in my head, as if it was part of the air itself. I felt fear overwhelm me, but I was too brave to run. But then suddenly something strange happened. The lights by the gas station began to flicker, and then went out altogether. The darkness enveloped me, and I felt its penetrating gaze pinning me in place. Suddenly, a dark silhouette emerged from around the corner. He moved slowly, like a ghost summoned from my worst nightmares. I couldn't make out his face, but I could feel his gaze piercing me to my very soul. My reaction was instantaneous. The force of fear made me jerk and run away from this horror. My legs moved faster than ever, and I didn't look back, afraid to see what was left behind me. My feet carried me, as if by motor, away from the gas station and into the ever-deepening forest. The dark foliage was disappearing behind me, and branches circled around me, as if crying out for help. The rain that had started was getting heavier by the minute, its noise obscuring my thoughts, and I began to realize that now, in this desolate wilderness, I was all alone. Thunder rumbled above me, as if responding to my fears, and lightning tore the sky apart, illuminating my path. But even in that light, I felt dark shadows waiting for me in every obscure figure that lurked in the foliage. I ran without turning around, without looking back at what was left behind. My thoughts were troubled, and yet I felt that I must not stop, that the coming night brought with it even darker threats. Through the downpour and whirlwind, I finally found shelter in an old ruined cabin, covered in lichen and forgotten by time. I rushed inside, sheltered from the rain, and collapsed to the floor, exhausted and haggard. My breathing was heavy and ragged, as if I had no air to fill my lungs. My mind was splintering apart, my thoughts disappearing in a flood of darkness, and I realized that I was now trapped in a world where the shadows were tearing towards the light. Through the sounds of the rain, I heard something else, a whisper that carried through the whirlwind. It was a voice, quiet and muffled, but full of ominous certainty. It promised me something I couldn't understand, words that sounded like a dark incantation calling me to myself. But I turned away from those whispers, driving them as far away as I could. I knew that if I let them enter my mind, I would never be able to get rid of them again. So I covered my ears and closed my eyes, hoping sleep would take me away from this nightmare. Suddenly, I woke up in my house, in my own bed, my breath catching and my heart pounding frantically in my chest. I realized it was just a dream, but the fear still wouldn't let me go. I slowly calmed down, repeating to myself what had only happened in my nightmares, and with each passing moment reality came back to me. Finally, I realized that I could survive this nightmare, climbing into my bed, closing my eyes and comforting myself with the thought that morning would bring a new day and new hope. New Zealand, the land of mysterious beauty and untamed wilderness. It had always beckoned me with its depths, and I decided to take a bold step and explore the caverns hidden within its depths. Armed with only a day's worth of provisions and a feeble flashlight, I descended into the darkness, filled with mystique and strange creatures that began to visit me, perhaps due to the lack of oxygen, or maybe it was just my imagination running wild. The caves revealed themselves as a labyrinth of rocks, stalagmites and stalactites, as if crafted by the very spirit of darkness. My footsteps echoed, and the faint beam of light emitted by my flashlight struggled to penetrate the abyss. Gradually, with each step deeper into the caves, I started feeling an eerie presence. It seemed as if my eyes were deceiving me, conjuring shadows of unidentified beings from the darkness. I attributed it to the lack of oxygen and nerves, but an unsettling sense of unease persisted within me. On the fourth day of my journey into the caves, unknown forces began to manifest more vividly. I heard rustlings, summoned by unseen creatures, and faint footsteps that seemed to pursue me from the shadows. My nerves were on edge, and my sanity began to question its own integrity. But what was most remarkable was that in my solitude I heard voices, whispers that seeped into my thoughts, as if speaking directly to me, beckoning me to join their somber assembly. I resisted, but they persisted, relentlessly penetrating my psyche. The darkness around me grew so saturated that I could barely discern my own thoughts. I became lost in the labyrinth of the caves, and every step forward seemed futile. My flashlight flickered, dimmed, and flickered again, like a soul losing hope but still struggling to burn with a feeble flame. Yet, just as I began to accept that these strange creatures and voices were mere figments of my imagination, a faint glow appeared in the distance. The expedition, they had found me. As I emerged from the depths of the caves, the light of the outside world greeted me with warmth and relief. My rescuers surrounded me, their faces etched with concern and relief. I could feel their comforting presence, grounding me in reality after my harrowing journey through the shadows. Yet, even as I stood in the safety of their embrace, a part of me remained tethered to the darkness I had encountered below. The whispers, the rustlings, the eerie voices, they still echoed in the recesses of my mind, refusing to fade away completely. It was as if the caves had left an indelible mark on my soul, a reminder of the mysteries that lurked just beyond the surface of our reality. Despite the trauma I had endured, there was a strange allure to the darkness that beckoned me back. The unknown held a fascination that I couldn't shake, a curiosity that pulsed within me like a heartbeat. I knew deep down that my journey into the caves had only scratched the surface of something much larger, something infinitely more complex and enigmatic. And so, as I bid farewell to my rescuers and returned to the familiarity of the outside world, I carried with me a newfound sense of purpose. I was no longer content to simply exist within the confines of the known. I yearned to unravel the secrets of the universe, to delve deeper into the mysteries that lay hidden beneath the surface of our reality. As I gazed up at the star-studded sky, I felt a surge of determination coursing through my veins. The darkness no longer frightened me, it intrigued me, and with each passing moment I grew more certain that my journey was far from over. There were still countless secrets waiting to be discovered, and I was determined to uncover them, no matter the cost. And so, with a silent vow to embrace the unknown and confront the darkness head-on, I took my first tentative steps forward, ready to embark on the next chapter of my journey, a journey that would lead me deeper into the shadows than I ever thought possible. But this time, I wouldn't be alone. Armed with newfound courage and an insatiable thirst for knowledge, I would confront whatever lay ahead, no matter how daunting or terrifying it may be. For in the darkness, I had found not just fear, but also strength, and it was that strength that would guide me forward into the unknown. Though I was saved, a part of me remained immersed in darkness, in that world I discovered within the caverns. Since then, I've sought answers, delving into the mystical aspects of that place and exploring my own psyche. When night falls upon the world, I still hear the echoes of voices and feel the touch of strange creatures. My life has been forever changed, and I can no longer look at the world with the same eyes. The journey into the caves of New Zealand became my personal call to the darkness. And though I do not know what awaits me ahead, I will continue my path, guided by the enigmatic forces that govern this realm. I will embrace the call of darkness and delve into its secrets, hoping that one day perhaps I will find answers that will illuminate my soul.